I love that you used music as a way to get to that state of equanimity. I think you were quoting Beethoven. He said, music is the medium to bridge the essential and the spiritual. Can you
Right.
speak a little bit more about that part, the spirituality aspect of it, the deepest part? Because I know that you're a huge fan of consciousness as well.
Absolutely. Consciousness in the realm of experience is the thing we understand least in the universe, which is remarkable. I'm talking from a scientific point of view, from a physics point of view, from a biological point of view, which is remarkable since it's probably the most important thing in terms of the human experience is an experience in consciousness, right? We are aware of our own experiencing. So that in and of itself distinguishes us, right, from so many other species. And yet we know so little about its mechanisms, right? From a scientific point of view, essentially, all we can truly understand is that when we bring a certain number of particles together that form these bodies and brains, that critical mass at some point triggers consciousness. And it's just a remarkable phenomenon. And so when we think about the human experience, we have the sensual experience. And what I mean by that, in reference to what Beethoven said, is the experience of the world, of the universe through our senses. And we have, of course, the five most common senses, but there's other senses as well that we have. But essentially, we are filtering the outside world through that. So our experience of the world is quite literally our own senses interpreting it, and it's an internal experience. What we see out there is actually happening inside our minds.
Yeah, on this podcast, we call it the external reality and then the subjective reality.
That's right. And ultimately, anything we can state is only subjective reality. There's nothing that we can personally vouch for that is other than subjective reality. And
Correct.
so when we take that from the physical to the emotional, we're dealing then with just an extension of that, because everything that we feel emotionally, right, is based on certain thoughts and belief systems that we have, certain conditionings and things that kind of from our past. When we are experiencing our emotional reality, we're also coming at it from a very subjective point of view. Many people think that their emotions are absolute truth, but they're only one data point. They're only one subjective perspective. That means if they're subjective, and if we want to be in relation to other people and to the world around us, then by understanding that and having some way to interface with everything around us becomes critical. And then we take it the spiritual order of things. And there, for me, what that means is a relationship with what is hidden from those other two realms. Okay?
Mm.
So we certainly can understand there are experiences that are hidden from our senses,
Hmm.
right? Now, for thousands of years, most phenomenon like electromagnetism was hidden from us. Now, our phones and our computers operate based on that because we've been able to unhide that physical truth of the universe and build tools around those frequencies. Same with radio frequencies and all types of other X-rays and microwaves. And it's basically unhiding truths of the universe and then employing them to our benefit. And I think there are many others, right? You look at the pioneering work of physicists who are looking at dark energy and dark matter. We have a very vague sense of what those actually are, but we're very early on in the understanding of those phenomena, yet they comprise combined dark energy and dark matter 96% of the visible universe. So go figure. We think we know so much about the world around us, the universe around us, yet all matter, stuff made up of particles like me and you, is only represents about 4 to 5% of the universe. So there's so much that's still hidden to us. And for me, that's exciting, right? That means there's so much to yet be discovered. Music, since it is the language of vibration, it is using vibration frequencies to communicate albeit in a very complex, multi-layered language, allows for that interface, right? Beethoven was talking about, right? Between what we can sense and what we can't sense, what is just beyond our ability to sense, which means if it's beyond our ability to sense, then it hints at this inability to express it with language, with verbal language, because we can only express with verbal language what we have access to, right? Because we would only have words for things that we have experienced or we have theorized. But if it lies beyond that realm, then how could we imagine verbalizing it? So we need a language that transcends the word. And that language that we have as human beings is music. There's a wonderful saying that when we lack the words, we turn to the poet. But when the poet lacks the words, she turns to music. And it's a very specific reason for it. Language, human language, no matter what language you speak, is a linear form language, right? It goes, one word in front of the other, one letter in front of the other, one word, one sentence, one paragraph, and that's how we communicate and ideas. Music operates in multiple dimensions. You can have more than one instrument playing, more than one melody at the same time, right? We call that harmony, counterpoint, polyphony. These are all words that are defining a more complex language. So it's literally, CK, the equivalent. If you were to think about the physical universe, right? We live in a 3D physical universe, right? Plus time. So 4 dimensions, but 3 spatial dimensions plus time. Imagine you lived in a 2-dimensional universe. You can only go in 2 different vectors. Imagine you lived in a 1-dimensional universe. You can only go right to left. That's it. That's what human language essentially is compared to music. You can go from here to there in human language. It's linear. But now look at music. You can go in vertically and horizontally in multiple dimensions with lots of different elements like rhythm and timbre and counterpoint and all these elements that conspire to allow for an infinite amount of human expression beyond which we might have words for. That's the magic of music.
Yeah, for sure. As you were speaking, what you said is language is an abstraction of whatever it is that you were trying to create. Lao Tzu said it, 道可高非常道 in the Tao Te Ching. It means the opening sentences, if you can say it's not it, this is not the Tao, right? Yeah. If you can articulate this thing, it's not Tao, it's around it. So I love that you use music as a way to portray the multi-dimensionality of whatever it is that you're trying to articulate.